Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Priestly Duties. This is a European multinational security protocol. We are threatened by the United States of America, who's scheming and plotting to override individual sovereign nations and to start a humiliation ritual on the Pope of Rome. So I'm intervening in that process, and I've been intervening in that process for a while. And I've explained in the previous episodes how I'm intervening. And I have a strategy to defeat Donald Trump, and I have executed the strategy. And it's explained in the last video. That means I had to leave the Vatican Eagle throne because I offered the United States to cancel my war pact with the Vatican. And the price I'm asking for that is 33% of the divine right to rule the world, and 33% of the divine right to rule the world goes to the Vatican. So instead of going double team with the Pope of Rome against the American president, I stepped back and cut him in half. His divine rights extracted out of him, because he is going to bleed these divine rights to the global south. Ladies and gentlemen, all these war crimes that he's committing, he's going to pay for that with his divine rights. You know what divine rights are? If you have the divine right to rule the world and you destroy the world with your divine rights, the other guys don't have divine rights. Whereby, what's God going to do? He's going to give him justice, because that's the nature of God. So how is God going to give justice? Transferring your rights. It's in the Bible. In the Old Testament, the Bible is full with this. Joseph was accused by the wife of Potiphar and imprisoned based upon a false accusation. 2 or 3 cycles later in the life of Potiphar, Joseph became the right hand of the Pharaoh of Egypt. And Egypt back in those days was world empire. Joseph rose above Potiphar. Took a while, and there was certain intelligent design. So Donald Trump's deeds would have leaked the divine right to rule the earth to the outside world. And that's not just threatening the United States, that's also threatening the European Union. So we're facing a multi-layered European multinational security protocol issue. Donald Trump is not just destroying the European destiny. He's also giving the power of America, he's donating it, sponsoring it to the global south. And just imagine the world. Imagine the world when Iran receives America's divine right to rule the earth. I don't know about that. How would you feel? How do you all feel about that? Or China or Russia receiving the divine right to rule the earth from the United States. I don't know about that. So I went full war mode against this American president, and I offered to stop. And the only price I took is 33% of the divine rights to rule the earth. That's quite interesting. I don't know what it is. I just theoretically know how to disable the United States. How does the United States rule the world? It's called divine rights. So how do you get the divine rights out of this man? I made a strategy. So I got the divine rights out of this man, and I see what it is. I see what the divine right to rule the earth is. So I'm no longer in the seat of Pope of Rome. I'm no longer in the Vatican Eagle throne. I had to decouple. It's back to my own destiny. I cannot help the Pope fight Donald Trump anymore. I granted the president the right that I'm no longer intervening for the price of the divine right to rule the earth. And this is what it does, right? The magic trick, right? If you have the divine right to rule the earth, what can you do that others cannot do? It's called I can see you. I can see you. You all out there, China, Russia, and Iran, you're having these plans. And America has these plans, and the Europeans have these plans. All these people have these plans. With the divine right to rule the earth, you can decode everyone's plans like that. Because your mind is protected by heaven, so that their minds cannot outchess you. You always win. You see what they're doing. They can't hide. That's the divine right to rule the earth. That's what it does. The world is doing something, and the divine right to rule the earth discloses to my intellectual layers of possibilities, what are you doing? I can see what you're doing, whatever you're doing. My intelligence, supported by the divine right to rule the earth, I will find out what you're doing and I will counter it. You know, the 100% of the divine right to rule the earth was in the hands of Donald Trump. No matter what we did, he would figure it out because of this divine right. How do you defeat someone with divine rights, right? So that on the the divine right to rule the earth. I went back to the White House and I was like, we have to resolve the problems. We have to find a solution. So I wanted some spiritual technology from the White House, and in exchange, I would do them a service. Hello, everyone out there. I offered my destiny to the White House, just like how I offered my destiny to the Vatican. I was like, in a more limited way, let me go in. Let me check out what's going on over there. So I promised them, like some kind of confidentiality. There are limitations to the confidentiality. So I'm not going to freely speak because I promised confidentiality and I don't want to damage that reputation. If I promise someone confidentiality and I break it, then what's the worth of my promise? Whereby I am in a way limited what I can tell you, what I cannot tell you. Right? I just have to do that because otherwise the next time I say, hey, I'll do this, and I promise confidentiality, nobody's going to listen to me. So it's not that I don't want to tell you. This is just churchly etiquette. Okay, Donald Trump does not understand. He doesn't understand. He doesn't see the whole. He doesn't see the system. He doesn't see the organism. He doesn't see any of this stuff. It's not spiritual. He doesn't understand. So in the American Eagle Throne, what is there is called military industrial complex, pharmaceutical industry, and tech giants. So Donald Trump is like the manager. So America is not like Europe. It's not a nation. America is not a nation. America is a factory/industrial complex. So the White House is then in this American Eagle Throne, and then Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief of that destinical airplane. And there are only three factions of power: military industrial, pharmaceutical, and technological. That's America. There's nothing else. The people of America, they're useless. And I'm not saying, hey, American, you're useless. I am saying Donald Trump thinks you're useless. So Donald Trump is the manager, and he has 3 briefcases of orders. And if he fulfills these orders, they let him be president. He can do whatever he wants. So then he can sit there. So Donald Trump is a figure sitting there going like, I got 3 suitcases. If I don't violate their whatever, I can just sit here and do whatever I want. Oh yeah, and there are these Christians. Yeah, that's the problem. Donald Trump is simply giving them just enough to keep the order. He's managing this stuff. Okay, so in the mind of Donald Trump, he's just seeing 4 things: the pharmaceutical industry, the technological industry, the military industrial industry, and the people. Oh my God, how do I they have so much demands and they bring so little to America. It's like that. Oh my God, they want more. They already have so much. What are they bringing? Donald Trump is a completely utilitarian man. Completely utilitarian. No morality. Here in Europe, we have 50 shades of morality. What am I talking about? 80 million shades of morality. European nations cannot unite because everyone has a different level of morality. Some people say this is moral, and some people say this is moral, and we can't find unity in our morality. That's in our DNA. We are a moral people. I'm not saying we're excellent at morality. I'm not saying we're better than everyone, but I'm saying we're questioning. Everyone is questioning. People are maybe not questioning about heaven, but people are questioning what's the right thing to do. People don't like to feel like the bad guy in Europe. People don't want to be that corrupt police officer here in Europe. People have a sense of honor. I'm not saying they're good people. There are better examples than others, but everyone in Europe kind of agrees we got to be decent. We are a decent union of people. Decency is our identity. So when things happen in Europe that go against decency, it's not that easy to push that here into Europe. More friction. All right. So in the White House, it doesn't work like that. It's just a balance sheet. Okay. How do we push this through without these Christians destroying us? So we have to give them what they want, but we're going to push through what we want because these are our utilitarian assignments. Yeah, the Bible and stuff. Sure. So Donald Trump is sitting there going like, sure, God is real. It's like, I get it. So this is not a question in his mind. He knows. He knows God is real. It's not a question of a doubt. Only to him, it's not something he understands. It's just a button. I know it is real. Okay, it is real. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't have any time to understand it. He got 3 briefcases of 3 powers in the United States, and he has the job to manage the people so that the people do not disturb the powers, and he is supposed to find the middle ground to give them as little as possible to keep the order, just to get the machine going. There is nothing else going on over there in the United States. So I talked about Donald Trump being like Hitler. Yeah, so because of the authorization to go into the American Eagle throne and watch what's in there for diagnostics, Donald Trump does not appear to me like Hitler. Like Hitler, like screaming, "Oh, we're gonna make the empire and the Jew and the blah blah blah." So Hitler was like a really crazy person that was looking for a black sheep to eliminate a certain people. So Donald Trump has quoted, "I will wipe the Iranian civil." That's not the same. The thing that what Hitler was doing and this whole "I'll wipe the Iran out of the map" is not the same thing. Hitler wanted to wipe the Jews. Donald Trump doesn't want to wipe Iran. Donald Trump is just utilitarian. Let's use their fear of death against them to make them comply. He don't want to kill them. He just wants them to bow. Adolf Hitler wanted to kill him, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you want to kill him or not. If you shoot, you shoot. Hitler shot, and Donald Trump is shooting. So Donald Trump is not shooting for the same reasons, but he is committing collateral damage the same way how Hitler was committing collateral damage. Hitler didn't perceive the Jew as a human. The way how the American army is committing collateral damage, they don't perceive these people as humans. It's the same Adolf Hitler energy, only it's not a direct copy. It's not a direct copy, whereby it's more difficult to identify that's Hitler. Because Donald Trump is not screaming the same stuff as Hitler. But Donald Trump has the same utilitarian morality like Hitler. It's just a machine to him. How do I operate the machine? He doesn't have a deeper moral understanding, and he can't afford that, because the moment he starts to do that, the businessman with the 3 suitcases are going to go like, "You're useless to us. You're useless to us." So this is the prison that Donald Trump is inside. He can't escape it. He doesn't own America. He is just in the manager position, and he has to continually fulfill these 3 suitcases and manage these American people, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what I saw in there. And I don't know if I can expose more without going against the confidentiality promise. Give me a second to think about this. So yes, so Donald Trump does not see like how I can see. And probably the Vatican sees things in a different way. America does not have generational intelligence. Generational intelligence, for example, China has 5,000 years of generational intelligence. If you as a nation go through a whole bunch of things, you kind of know how the seasons work. So you develop seasonal intelligence. In Europe, 1200 years of Vatican, ups and downs. They have seen some seasons, so they kind of know how time flows. America just doesn't have that database. Whereby Donald Trump would order McDonald's from whatever out there, letting it deliver to the White House. China and Vatican would never do that because they know politicians are assassinated through poisoning, food poisoning. When it's time for a politician to die, he dies by food poisoning or he dies by his best friend. Emperors are not defeated in war, they're defeated by their best friend. They're stabbed by their best friend. This is purely generational intelligence. When it's time for a world ruler to die, his best friend will stab him because his best friend continually sees the power and gets jealous of the power and feels victim of the power and just wants revenge to repair the broken ego that the power caused. Envy. So multi-generational intelligence knows this is how a ruler dies. That type of intelligence doesn't order McDonald's from the public square. So a China and a Vatican is looking at this White House eagle throne going like, what is this? Is he dumb? Is he crazy? Is he insane? What is wrong with this man? They don't understand that America just doesn't have this generational intelligence because it's not a country. If I looked in the United States affairs, it's not a country. It's a machine, quote, / factory. If you build a giant factory in the United States and your factory is creating jobs and revenue, lowering the debts of the United States, you can go sit on the table and present your suitcase. And the American president will add your inquiries to the machine and he will manage you. It's a completely different civilization. So in their eyes, the Middle East is just a place of a whole bunch of problems. How do we fix that? Utilitarian thinking. Why don't we just drop a giant, huge bomb? Then all these Arabs will go like, "Oh my God, we're going to die. We don't want more bombs in the in here. Let's comply." Yeah. So that's how Lucifer Morningstar creates Adolf Hitler. Lucifer Morningstar doesn't say to Donald Trump, "Hey, drop the bomb," because that's too obvious. That's too obvious. So it's masked. It's like, hey, if you do this, you'll get that result. And that's the result you want, right? And then all of a sudden you're a mass murderer, but because you attained the peace, you go like, I attained the peace. But you don't understand the karmic consequences of the way how you attained the peace. It's dirty war. And now, the dirty war is coming home. Somebody tried to assassinate White House officials today. As I'm speaking, the news came out, White House officials attempt of assassinations. Yeah, that's called killer karma. You start shooting and you start killing and your blessings deplete and you kill some more and more blessings deplete. There comes a point that you can't stop. The energy runs out and then the mirror shows up and the killer energy will enter your life. And now they're still alive, but how many assassinations can America afford before their generational blessings run out and the karma shows up in an unkind way? In an unkind way, the karmic mirror, it's already showing up. So the White House is having real critical low levels of generational blessings left to manage their own fate. The Americans are losing the right to manage their own fate. They have the right to choose. They have the right to declare war. They have the right to ignore warnings. That's called choice. And the Americans have had a history of doing things of a positive nature that give them a position in the destiny of the West. And they have the right to destroy themselves. They cannot keep doing it. There come a point that the rights have been repaid, and then Donald Trump is going to enter reality, and the assassination energy is going to come home. That's what Americans say. We're going to come home, baby. The killings are going to come home. That's inevitably, that is inevitable for the United States. The killings are going to come home, right? So now it's just a shooter shooting some in the wild. The next thing is his children, and then the next thing, his administration members, and then him. It's stages. This is generational intelligence. When death is allowed by God to enter your life, it won't just hit you in one time because God doesn't want you to die. It will hit you slowly. First the outer layer, warning shot. And then when you don't understand the warning shot, then it will hit you a little closer. Not yet you, but it will hit you in the pain spots. And then God is trying to get you to repent. And if you still do not repent, then you're next. It's in stages. This is called generational intelligence. So I'm not using the throne of the Pope. I can't enter there. I gave that up. I'm using my own destiny with this divine right to rule the world from Donald Trump himself. Yes, this is the United States of America. This is their destiny. How many assassinations can they afford until God no longer gives them their karma, in the sense blessings? When are their blessings running out? And when their blessings run out, that's when you're going to see it coming home. The crimes are going to come home and going to hurt Donald Trump and his family, going to hurt Donald Trump and his administration. This is the cycle. So is Donald Trump Adolf Hitler 2.0? Absolutely. It's not the same. It's not on paper one-on-one, but it is utilitarian coldness. It is careless coldness. The war, okay, how do we win it? To save 2 million people, we will destroy 200,000 people. No problem. Let's go do it. How do we get this business going? Because we want to continue doing our daily affairs. There's no moral evaluation. And that is the Hitler part. This was the, today's episode of the Priestly Duties, the European Multinational Security Protocol. This one is designed to help Vatican or other organizations understand what's wrong with this Donald Trump. No, the devil is not talking to him. It's in his head, but he doesn't understand how it works. He doesn't see the whole. He doesn't see how the system is trying to help him. He sees the attack of the system upon his business as an attack upon the business. He doesn't understand that the system is trying to save him. He sees an attack. He doesn't see a correction. He can't see the difference between the two. He doesn't have spiritual eyes. He doesn't have spiritual discernment. He doesn't see the organism. He only sees the agenda. He is not a leader. He is a manager, and he doesn't have morality. And he sees war like how Hitler sees war. Just utilitarian, going from A to B. It doesn't matter. We have to solve the problem. We're going. The biggest evidence of my speaking is the way how they want to build paradise in Gaza. Oh my God. They're shooting a whole bunch of people in Gaza, right? And I don't want to get involved in that. Keep me out of this. But it says a lot. If you just wipe out an entire kind, and then you want to build a resort and holiday, you want to build holiday decks on graves, what is wrong with you? The world doesn't understand that. That's the level of two-dimensional utilitarianism. They think they're going to build paradise over dead bodies. And then the Americans are going to go to their Gaza holiday resorts and think the dead bodies and the souls of the dead and all these energies of murder is not going to destroy their lives. The Americans don't have that layer of generational intelligence. They don't have it. They know how to run a factory and a company. When you do business with America, if you try to get America to stop war crimes or whatever, you have to understand you're talking to a business. You're not talking to a nation. When I address Vatican, I'm addressing nations. When I address America, I address the factory. This is how you properly do the diplomatic work to the United States of America.